Merv, strangely enough, even though I feel like I've known you for a long time, it's only been about 3 weeks. My first question is, who are you?
Okay, all right. Who am I? I'm the guy that likes to make kitchens and ride his motorbike. That's the short answer. If we want the longer answer, I was part owner and technical director of Quest Computing in Dublin for about 20 years, and Steph and wife had decided we'd have a bit of a gap year, so we packed up our house into a shipping container and we hit the road, and we spent about 3 years traveling around the world. And then I came back to help my brother make kitchens. And usually I just tell the make kitchen story, but there you go. That's the long version.
That's what we want to hear.
Yeah.
Get a background to you. Amazing. So I cut to about a month ago, and all of this coronavirus and COVID-19 crisis starts hitting. Like, what made you join OSV-X? How did you hear about it? What was the...
I heard about it through some social media thing, and in the kitchen business we were getting very quiet, obviously because of the COVID-19 situation. We've a lot of large industrial machines in the factory which are now sitting idle, CNC routers and so on. I thought, oh, maybe we could use some of them as part of the actual ventilator project if it needed any machining done. That's why I signed up. Very quickly I saw that most of the work was being done maybe still at the design stage rather than actually needing machines to make stuff. And then I started looking around at other projects that caught my eye, and that's where I saw the volunteers side. And I'm a very much hands-on type of person, and I saw that the volunteers side of it was something I could help with quicker than I could floating around the edges and watching what was going on in the ventilator. So well, that all started with Tullamore Hospital. We in Age Tech, in the kitchen company, we provide a lot of stuff into the HSE, into edge timber paneling and so on and so forth. So we were already a HSE supplier, and but obviously just on furniture type stuff. But we do have a close relationship with quite a few people up in the hospital, and we learned about the shortage of the face shields, and we saw the simple foam design, and we thought, oh, we could do that. And I think Jacinta, who is Adrian's wife, she runs the office, and she went down to the office center, came back with a box of acetates, and then we thought, oh, we need foam, and we rooted around and we located a bit of foam and some strings of elastic, and there was the foam design was already out there, so we did our own slight variation on it, not because we thought we were improving, but because it was the materials that we had. And we contacted our contact up in Tullamore Hospital and said, look, we've got a couple of screens here. Do you want to, what's the procedure? And he says, where are you? We told him. He was down in 15 minutes. He tried them on, and he said, okay, I've only got 2 questions. How many and how soon? They were out. So that was our approval process. He brought them back and he got them, checked out properly. And we've been making them for Tullamore Hospital and others as well. It's branched out. We supplied them to a lot of local small businesses, chemists, and so on and so forth. We've even provided some to a meat factory, because the workers obviously, because they're handling food. So even nothing to do with healthcare, but in food preparation, you have to have stuff like that. So.
And when you say we there in Age Tech, who was the we that was designing and making those face shields at the start?
Well, I suppose I was working on the theoretical thing because I wasn't physically there. When this all started, I was in a voluntary isolation. I was only just a few days back from northern Spain, where I was down on a motorcycle trip, and I caught the last passenger boat out of Spain as they were locking down. So I was in social isolation, lots of time to be surfing around on the web, and that's where I came OSV. So I caught the theory. I rang Adrian, who's my brother, and I said, you know what, we could do these. So his wife went off and got the materials, And then there was about 3 or 4 of the guys in the office or in the factory said, yeah, well, look, we'll pitch into that. There's Martin Murphy. And he really jumped into it in a big way. He used to bring some home in the evening and his wife would make some more. So because it was a simple thing, it was just a physical assembly job. We had a bit of fostering to get the size right and how to shape them and so on and so forth. But once we had that, because we have the type of tooling and machines, we could start to do the shaping of the screens very quickly. And so it just it evolved rather than a concerted design effort. We thought we'd end up making 50 or 60, and now we're, I don't know how many thousand down the line.
Incredible. And then, so somewhere in between the kind of the manufacture of them and getting them to the different locations, you kind of started to think about the distribution.
Yeah, there was an issue on getting things around. For a number of people, there was what caught my eye, and I think I saw it on OSV. Somebody posted it. There was the appeal by a consultant in James's Hospital, and I saw that. So, oh yeah, donations. That's a great idea, and people were dropping things in. And I don't know how the network started in terms of finding out that there was actually people who wanted to donate, and they're halfway across the country. And I thought, oh yeah, well, they could maybe do it a hand in getting them from A to B. So one of my hobbies is I'm a member of the Irish Photo Rally, which is a collection of a few hundred motorcyclists. And the raison d'etre of that whole association is at the beginning of the year, they publish about 24 sets of coordinates of places in the country. You have a year to visit them all. You take a photograph of your motorcycle at that point, and at the end of the year, we submit them all. I approached the organizers and said, look, the rally's kind of shut down fairly well because of the travel and COVID-19, but would the guys be interested in actually riding their bikes to help, to actually move PPE? So at first we were just moving the donations, and then it blossomed into moving, collecting from people and dropping off. And then it was more than just James's Hospital. So now with the the email address, there's people popping up on it where they're requesting things, nursing homes that are out, ambulance services that are out. So we're moving all sorts from anywhere to anywhere, including even raw materials for making screens for the 3D printing process. We're moving stuff around for them, and it exploded from there.
Started just with kind of, one or two of you getting requests. So we have a couple boxes of gloves that we could donate. Can you pick them up from here and distribute them to there? Mm-hmm. And then it grew and it grew. How big is it now, Merv?
Well, at the moment, we had to move from the Irish Photo Rally because we were sort of taking it over, as it were, and that wasn't fair on it as an organization. Mm-hmm. So we set up our own identity with Bravo Charlie Tango. We wanted a name that was catchy. It sounds urgent. It sounds important. It's the way you hear airline pilots speak. So the initials stand for biker coming through. So it's the whole essence of, we're going to rush out, get what's needed, rush it to where it needs to go at legal road speeds, I might add. And but it's the rapid response. It's from the time somebody requests something, we usually try and have it filled the same day. And because often the cry for help only comes when people are extremely low, their regular supply lines are not working or are exhausted, and people's usage of PPE shot up so fast that their stocks just weren't able to manage.
So now you have your kind of core admin team of, I've met you, but I know of Linda and Brendan and Ashley and loads more people in the scene. They're running the admin side of it.
There's constantly 3 people on the dispatch center. We have, I think, 600 bikers now in the group. Now on any one given day, there may be only 100 guys available, but 100 people available across the country is quite a lot. It's a biker group, but they all, most have cars, a lot of vans, a couple of them have trucks. There's a guy with an Arctic who's itching to have a reason to bring it out for a spin. So it is a cross section of community. It's not just the common thread is was we all like motorcycles.
And I was trying to get you to come up with a figure for me last night. How many runs and how many deliveries, and what's the size of that?
Sure. It's a little bit hard one to quantify. We have some we try to document every run, and we do that for in case we hit a problem for contact tracing reasons. So we would know what came from who to where and what motorcycle was involved. So if that rider had came down with it, we'd be able to say, oh well, these are people he's contacted and whatnot. We're now running at probably about 50 to 80 runs a day, and have been doing now for 2.5, nearly 3 weeks. But they're the straightforward documented runs, and a lot of the guys are volunteering, even just with their local community, and they're doing local collections and bringing it to local nursing homes and so on and so forth. So I could conservatively say that there's a couple of thousand drops have been done since we started.
Incredible. And I believe it or not now, Merv, I'm not in a motorcycle gang, or have never been, but I joined your I joined your Facebook group to see what it was like, and I've been following the posts there. And I've been really blown away by that community. They're so generous with their time. They're doing this on a voluntary basis. They're not getting any reward for it. How come they're so eager to do it?
A lot of people have a funny idea of bikers. Bikers typically are they're lone wolf. They're all very individual. But they also have there's a great bond when you ride motorcycles, and typically if a motorcycle breaks down the side of the road, the first vehicle that will stop to see how you're doing is another motorcycle. It's a very tight-knit community. There's a lot of respect for each other. It's a dangerous hobby. It's a dangerous interest. And we do all look out for each other. So there is a massive community feeling in it. And they've got hearts of gold. What's nice on the biker community just doing the transport is it's something they can tangibly do. And you get a call in the morning, you volunteer to do a run, and you pick up some PPE from somebody, and the people donating it are over the moon. They're thrilled to be helping, just to be helping. Yeah. And the rider is thrilled to be helping move it. And the big thing that all the guys have come back, and you're on the forum, you've seen the comments, the thanks that they get for dropping the stuff off. There's been a few nursing homes, particularly places like that, and the people receiving it have tears in their eyes that somebody actually went to the trouble to go off and collect 30 baby monitors from all over the country and arrive with because they asked, or boxes of PPE. There's one club, the Dead Ducks, they did a whip around. I thought it was a small amount. I was wrong. They raised about €2,500, and they've filled 2 transit vans with PPE that they've bought. And they've been distributing it just out of goodwill. So what they'll do is incredible. You can't force them. You couldn't ask them. But when they feel it's the right thing to do, you also can't stop them.
Yeah. So not only are some of them, every one of your BCT community are doing this on a voluntary basis. They're not even getting the petrol fees back. So not only are they doing that, some of them are actually putting their hand in their pocket to buy some.
They are. We've had some in that community have popped up with different people who wanted to sponsor us. There's been some people off OSV have contacted me privately saying, look, I'd like to chip in something. We've said no to it all, absolutely everything, except for one petrol station who said we could have free coffee if we called in, and we accepted that. And we do that actually. That's a hard rule for me because doing it voluntary, you can't accept any higher a reward. If you accept any higher reward, you actually invalidate your insurance. These guys are doing it on their own personal policy. So all they can do is a favor. They can't do it for higher reward, or we could actually end up in trouble. Now, down the line, we're going to have the biggest party when this is all over. There'll be 600 bikers somewhere on a run, as we call it, a good long spin. that'll be our thanks for ourselves.
And very well deserved, honestly.
Yeah.
Can I ask you, in terms of, you were saying 50 to 80 runs a day. I mean, we're a couple of weeks in now, and people are looking for some indication that things are getting better, and that the demand for these kind of smaller term or shorter term solutions should be reducing. Yeah. Is the demand reducing?
The demand is still creeping up, because there's a lot of places still learning that there's an email address, and at the far end somebody's going to do something. There's a lot of sites where you can put a pin on a map and register, I need stuff, and they're valid, they're very useful. But there's not anybody reading the map to think, do you know what, I'm going to ring that person, and I'm going to go there, and I'm going to give them something. And a lot of people have picked up on it. We're still getting calls from new places that, I hear you guys are distributing PPE. I'm stuck for XYZ. That, unfortunately, the demand is climbing, and the amount of people donating is dropping, because in effect, people who are more generous and more likely to give have given. And if they had some stuff in their beauty salon, which they've had to close. We had a dog grooming guy who had to close his dog grooming business. He gave us a car boot full of PPE. So a lot of the people like that have given what they can. We've now started getting a couple of corporate type donations, of decent volumes. Just today, I was offered 500 bottles of sanitizer. So we're distributing that back out now to nursing homes, and they're over the moon with it.
So Merv, I suppose you were very quick to react to this need to distribute the stock. You were very quick to see that this is something that, one, isn't going to be necessary, and two, that you might be able to weigh in and fix. What are you worried about next?
The next big one that was highlighted only a little, formally highlighted just over a week ago, was gowns. The shortage of medical gowns. That's turned out to be a big problem. And in Tullamore, the hospital there, they're quite inventive. So they got some local seamstresses to take the Chinese gowns that came in on the first flight with the short arms. They sent them out to a couple of seamstresses to sew on longer cuffs on them to extend the cuff. And then to send them back in, and then they could use them, because the garment itself, it was perfect. It was just the sleeves are too short. So during the course of that, they thought, well, if we can extend them with this particular fabric, maybe we could make them. So that happened just before last weekend, and weekend before last, and an email went out to 3 builders providers. Myself from the logistics side, the couple of seamstresses who had been sewing, and it came from a guy in the Tullamore Hospital, said, look, all you guys have the resources that are needed, the skills that are needed, the wherewithal, and a little bit of the Del Boy factor. Could you put your heads together and see what you could do? So we did, and with a little bit of pushing and pulling, we've managed to come up with a design and for gowns. We got some prototypes made up. We brought them back to the hospital, to their IDC lab. They checked them out, and they said, you know what, this works. This fabric actually does work. So it's based on roofing felt. And so we went back to the manufacturer, to the importer, and then on to the manufacturer, and we said, this roofing felt is great. It's perfect, but it's too stiff. It's a very firm, a robust type of material. Would you have something softer? And they told us something a little bit strange. They said, oh yes, we have it in a much lighter fabric at 40 grams per square meter. And they said, and why do you want it? And we said, oh, we're going to make gowns. And they said, oh yes, that's right. 40 grams per square meter is perfect for making gowns. Now this is from a factory that makes roofing felt. And we said, how do you know that? And they said, oh, because the Germans have been getting it off us for 2 weeks.
Wow.
And nobody knew. And I met the importer. He actually lives near me. I met him. We grabbed the little bit of fabric, this light fabric, it's fabulous. Rushed down to Tullamore Hospital. And outside the hospital, we tore it in half. We gave half to for IDC testing to test the properties of it. And I brought the other half to a seamstress to cut it in half and sew a seam on it, so we could actually test can it actually be sewn? Is it actually a workable fabric?
Yeah.
Brought that back to the hospital to test it with the seam in it, and they said, yes, this will work. Would you like to see one?
Yeah, go for it. Yes.
All right. So let me see. Can we see this? Right. So this is what we came up with. This is a gown. This is the back. It opens at the back. We use a Velcro at the neck to hold the neck closed. That was something that Jill came up with as an idea, so that it's in effect it's a quick release system, and I'll show you how that works when I go to model it now. So you step in from the back.
Yeah.
If I step back, is that good? Can you see?
Yeah, that looks great. Yeah.
You go in like so.
Yeah.
This is the second level prototype. It's got an elasticated cuff. On this particular one, the cuffs are a little bit too loose. They're not going to hold. So that's the next modification, is to make the cuff a little bit stiffer, a little bit tighter in, which will be easier on the final fabric. But you can see we've got the elasticated work going on. You pull the gown around.
Yeah.
On this one, they put the tie here, which we don't like. We're going to move it to the side. You tie it around, and hey presto, that's about it. And then it velcros behind the neck. Bear with me now.
Yeah.
You can tell I'm not used to putting on these type of garments.
Okay.
That fastens up there. This goes around, and hey presto.
Brilliant. And
hopefully, if the style is right, then we have it's digitized, so we can just send the file to anybody with a CNC cutting knife, and we have 3 places that can actually cut them for us. So we'll be able to go into cutting at a fairly decent rate.
So it's incredible. And how much, were you an avid gown, a closet gown knowledge expert before this?
To be honest, and I still don't know much. Jill from the board has been fantastic. She's got great ideas in that. The Tullamore people are the people that came out for when we had our little design meeting, as it were medical people, so they could actually comment from that point of view. They didn't comment on how many cents is that going to cost. They didn't comment on what countries are manufactured in. They wanted to wear it, try it, does it work? That was the main focus. They didn't have time to be too concerned with a lot of other things. We're doing it as best we can, as we all do. You can really think it's an open source gown, because you can get the fabric in builders providers. The heavy stuff, it's not ideal, but if you were stuck, it would be fine. Yeah. The other thing that's nice is, in terms of open source, this is translatable around the world. Like, all we have to do is, even to poorer countries that don't have the automatic cutting systems, and all they need is the pattern. And people with scissors and people with sewing machines can put this together. It may not be fantastic, but it's a way ahead of a bin liner with your head sticking out.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. And so when you this is your focus now for the next while, what's happening to BCT? Are you passing that over to someone, or who's
Brendan Farrell from here on OSV is keeping an eye on it, as is Cal McCarthy. He's on OSV as well. So
that's brilliant. I'm going to ask you, because it's really important, if there are people here that have connections and stuff, if they know people that are needing PPE, gear, gloves, gowns, whatever, in healthcare centre or in retirement villages, anywhere, what do they do? How do they get it to their premises, or how do they get it?
On a simple level, all you have to do is get the place to send us an email to ppedonationsire@gmail.com, and we'll take it from there. So if somebody wanted to take on a bigger job, and there was half a dozen nursing homes in your area, or you have a contact, is to find out from each of them how bad is it, and to send us an email. Because then we can do a sort of a triage type exercise and try and send it to the worst place, the most needy. and it doesn't matter. We don't care where it is. And some of the guys probably prefer when it's further away because they get to go for a drive. So that you know, it's not all misery. I'll admit that.
But it is right. I mean, it's kind of that crisis mentality of sometimes the quietest ones are the worst off because they don't have the time to even express their needs.
Exactly. We had a couple of cases that the first big public appeal that was done by St. James's, which kind of kicked the whole thing off. I'm glad they did it. It was fantastic. But a lot of people were sending a lot of stuff in there, whereas I believe the hospital in Cavan, they never said boo, and they were probably in worse conditions. And because nobody knew, everything went to St. James's. It's not anybody's fault. It's how it is. But it would be so much more efficient, or it'd be more equal if we knew the state of play everywhere, and then you could actually, right, okay, so today's deliveries are going to these 3 places or these 4 places, and we could probably help the places that need the help more, if you know what I mean.
And apart from sharing that message to contact that email address, ppedonationsdiary@gmail.com, or helping to formulate some kind of a needs assessment, what else? Like, you're pretty much doing more work than anybody else in the country. You know, how do we help you? What else can we do?
Well, what we've done a couple of videos for what we do. We did a video for the motorcycle thing to explain what it's about. So spreading the message in terms of getting the couple of videos viral, explaining what we're doing, it makes a huge difference.
Excellent. I think it's important, Merv. You know, obviously I want to thank you for everything you're doing, but it's probably a good opportunity for you to give some thanks to some of the other groups. I know that there's a lot of people in the backgrounds.
COVID community response have been fantastic. They were super in that they modified their community response system so that people could register requests for PPE or donations. The system is good. It works. It does what it says in the tin. I think some people are a little nervous of using a web form to register it. We prefer it because it means all the data is classified, and we're not having to contact people 4 or 5 times to actually find out the error code and so on and so forth. They've been fantastic. There's been a bunch of motorcycle shops that have jumped in behind it. So they Cotter's Motorcycles, for example, they're doing a free breakdown recovery service for anyone who's on a run. We had one guy who had a breakdown. He was collected 50 miles from the garage, brought in, his motorcycle was repaired for free, and so he was sent on his way. So there's a lot of people doing stuff like that. On the boards here, a load of people have been great on pitching in. Not least yourself, Roisin. Other than you, we wouldn't have been rolling. There's Noel and Andrew who gave us a hand design of the sticker, and all the guys have stickers on their bikes. It's so I have to thank Enda. I have to thank the guards for me, for letting us do what we're doing, which is absolutely super. Cal and Brendan have been fantastic. We have a couple of non-OSV members working on it. I do have to give a shout out to my sister Linda, who helps to run that board. She's doing an amazing job, both on her insight and for her hard work. So if she gets to see this, thank you, Linda.
Yeah, thanks, Linda, from all of us. I suppose the question that I wrote down is a simple one, and yet it's probably one you'll struggle with a little bit. It's, I mean, how does it feel knowing you've saved so many lives? And that's not an understatement. That's
go on. We're not saving lives. I suppose we were lucky. What we're doing is no more impressive than what anybody in OSV is doing. Ours is probably more tangible with shorter delivery times, with more tangible deliveries, because we're actually meeting the people that we're helping. Whereas, and that does feel great. It feels fabulous to be able to help folks. But I think everybody in OSV is helping. You may not have the immediate payback, because to design complicated machines takes months and months of work, years normally. Everybody's doing their bit. We're just doing our bit. That's all.
I think you're being a far too gracious hero. But yeah, so look, I mean, you know, obviously we are amazed and delighted that you're part of Team OSV, and I think, you know, as neighbours, as friends, we're all absolutely chuffed with you. And you know, if we can ask you to keep going, I think we would like to, because you're definitely getting stuff done, knocking down doors. So thanks a million, Merv. You've been brilliant, and again, you've been working all day to jump in and you know, give us an hour-long chat and a fashion show to boot on a Friday evening.
And a fashion show, yes.
It's great. So does anyone want to say anything to Merv? You can jump in now and take yourself off mute and have a chat to him.
Can I just say two things? One, Friday evening is normally predicated for many people by the Late Late Show. Merv, I would listen for hours to hear you talk. And the second thing, I've 27 years of military service. And one thing I've learned over the years is watch out for the quiet, the unassuming, the guy that appears to be just the ordinary guy who, you know, is chatting to everyone. He's normally the one with the most power and the most zest behind him. And from my discussions with you and from the webinar tonight, you definitely are. I think you're doing an absolutely amazing job. And just your manner and how you present yourself and how you talk, everything about you just speaks volumes of the character that you have. And obviously your wife there behind you as well, Sarah, I think her name is, so fair play to her.
And like I could literally list everybody on OSV. Anybody I've asked for any help on OSV has jumped in to say, yeah, what can I do? So it's nearly not fair to start listing names. Yeah, it's a hell of a community we're all in.